Hello and welcome everyone to the 2021 USAPL Pro Series event here at the Shop Gym, Ashburn, Virginia. My name is Leo Bonet. I am a USAPL national referee and USAPL lifter. I'm actually joined here by USAPL Pro elite lifter and coach Solana Lewis. Solana, how are you doing? And are you excited to be a part of the USAPL Pro Series event?
I am so excited, and I cannot believe I'm literally looking at a room filled with some of the best lifters in the world. Like, Ray Williams is right there. Like, I could touch him if I reach my arm like that. Like,
you really can.
This is fantastic.
You really can. It's such an exciting time to be here, especially because this is the inaugural event. This is the first one we've ever done. Nothing like this before, especially in the USAPL. I think everybody's really excited. I have no words, really. Solana, tell me a little bit about how you feel right now, just being in the environment.
When you walk in, you can literally see the floor to ceiling, like the, what's it called, like banner or whatever, where you're gonna see everyone walking down the red carpet when they are calling their name and the bar's loaded. So that, just the way everything looks is so professional. I've never seen this caliber in powerlifting, honestly, even in nationals. I've never seen anything that looks this nice. This is professional level powerlifting.
Well, shortly here, we're actually going to be joined by USAPL Virginia Chair Sabre Schnitzer. So until then, we're going to throw it back to the commercials, and we'll be joined with you in a second. Thank you. Cool. And welcome back, everyone, to the USAPL Pro Series event. We're actually joined here by USAPL Virginia Chair Sabre Schnitzer. Sabre, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about how we got here what USAPL Virginia is, what you've done since you've got here. Tell us a little bit of everything, actually.
All right, so for the entire live stream audience, what you're looking at here and behind us is the culmination of about 3.5 years of ridiculously hard work. And what's interesting about this, just to go quickly through the backstory, I started competing in about 2004. The local level competitions weren't that good. The national level competitions were really great, but if you only experienced, the fantastic meets at nationals, I kind of had a problem with that, because you come home and, you've got this rinky-dinky local meet. And that's just the way it was. That's the way it was accepted. Started competing down at in the North Carolina area. Jennifer Thompson was my first chief referee at a meet. She was the chief referee at the meet, my first competition in the USA Powerlifting. And it's just amazing because now she's here competing in my meet. And like, oh my God, Ray Williams just entered the building. So fast forward a little bit. Come up to about 2017. I'm living in Manassas, Virginia with my family. And I go to a collegiate state championships at a local high school. And somebody hands me a card that says, hey, there's this specialty gym opening up. And I'm like, oh, great, Manassas, it's a dump. They're going to fail. So I bothered to call this guy up. I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was. Name's Jason Albrecht. He's the owner of the Shop Gym, this is the second location that we're in right now. And we start talking, and he tells me this fantastic story about how he wants to open up a specialty training facility for powerlifters, bodybuilders, strongmen, and fitness athletes. And his vision was outstanding. He hooked me, hook, line, and sinker almost immediately. And my first comment to him is, that is awesome. You'll be out of business in 6 months. Because Manassas ain't that great, and I've lived there for 20 years. But as we continue talking, it's like, you know what? I want to support this. I'm going to do everything that I can to make you succeed. Well, I come from the powerlifting community, and luck be have it, the previous Virginia State chair resigned, and I submitted an application and took over. And that first competition, when I look behind me and the paper pop-up banners that I was using 3.5 years ago, I'm quite embarrassed, but that was a first step. And with the help of the TSG crew, we fed on each other, because I would say, hey, maybe we should implement this. And they would say, well, why don't you implement that? And for every 3 competitions, for every competition, I strove to implement something new. 3 new things. I didn't want to blow the doors off for the next competition, but every competition got a little bit better and better and better and better. And we kept on growing. Well, at the beginning of this year, after the Winter Record and Holiday Havoc last year, where it was, my God, we had so many people in that building, it was raining inside. But the TSG crew and I sat down and were like, well, what are we going to do next? We've done everything. We've got rock solid scoring. I've got 60 referees. People are coming. The Winter Record, for example, was a local level Virginia meet. I had lifters from 22 states coming. At my last Novice Open, my first Novice Open in 2021, I had 5 lifters fly in from Hawaii. They didn't know each other. They just wanted to see what all this, buzz is about Virginia. And they came out just to experience. And what you have right here, right now, this live stream, is really the culmination of all of that work, of listening with the TSG and Shop Gym crew, us collaborating together to come up with the most spectacular experience from a powerlifting perspective possible. The Pro Series today started really in January of this year, where we said, what can we do? What can we do to make powerlifting a mainstream sport? Well, no one is going to want to watch a 12-hour competition. They can't consume that. So we said, why don't we start a pro, or why don't we hold a pro meet? The TSG crew and the Shop Gym crew, they do a lot of bodybuilding and fitness shows. Well, bodybuilding has been at like a very high maturity level for decades. They totally understand the Pro Series, Pro Cards, and all of that. So what we said was, well, why don't we try to do the same kind of thing for the powerlifting community? Introduce Pro Cards, introduce cash meets. Now, one thing that I've been doing pretty much since 2018 is cash awards at my state championships. This year, I think I passed out like $22,000 in cash awards, and we spread them across all first, second, and third places for all open divisions. So we kind of already done it. What could we do to make it next level? Well, you're kind of looking at it behind us. We threw everything into this meet, knowing that, the USA Powerlifting Federation and the IPF kind of had a messy divorce. But, we're not going to bury our heads in the sand and say, oh, it's all screwed up. It's over. No. Life is tough. The divorce happened. Great. We're going to go on. And this is basically the next evolution of powerlifting as it exists today. We're going to up it to a stage where we bring in the best available athletes. Hopefully next year we start bringing in international athletes, and we have them battling head to head. There are no weight classes. There are no divisions. Right now, yes, we're using the IPF GL formula because that was the standard 6 months ago when I designed this thing. But in 2021, we're going to follow the national office's model, and we're going to move to dots. But this meet right here, you've got all the men competing in a men's pro division. You've got all the ladies competing in a ladies pro division. Natalie Richards, Samantha Calhoun, Jennifer Thompson. I mean, as a quick side note, a lifter was sitting in a chair yesterday during lifter interviews, and she was sitting there shaking. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I'm in a flight with Ray Williams and Jennifer Thompson. I mean, where the heck is that ever going to happen but at a pro meet like this? Okay, so all of these lifters, you've got top male pro 1, 2, and 3, top female pro 1, 2, and 3. But that's just the introduction, because the big money is being paid to best lifter, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And it's basically the money I put up into this is just coming out of my pocket. Not that I'm trying to like pad my ego or something like that. It has nothing to do with it. What I'm doing with the help of the Shop Gym crew is giving back to the sport that gave me so much. I mean, what happens when you turn 50? Well, you put on 50 pounds. My pants still fit. Yes. Little things like that. That's what powerlifting gave me. What I'm trying to do with the help of the Shop Gym crew and TSG crew is show the lifters of today what it could be when people with passion direct meets, coordinate competitions, and give fantastic prizes and prize money to the competitors of today, because we're building the top pros of tomorrow. So all of this, everything that's been done, is basically to establish the professional division, kick off the USA Powerlifting Pro Series, and show the rest of the world how it should be done. The intensity, the motivation. Jennifer Thompson just walked into the building. I mean, we have all of these pros coming in to compete on a single stage. So really, I don't want to get too long-winded. This is the culmination of a dream to bring USA Powerlifting and the powerlifting community to a much broader audience, to introduce a strength sport to the average American who might be a few pounds overweight, might have to drop a few. Introduce them to a sport that is easily consumable, that is open to any race, color, creed, religion. It doesn't discriminate. It's just get the body into a healthy state so that, if you're 30, you're 40 or whatever, you're not struggling to get off the couch and play soccer with the kids. Because, hey, heavy squat night was yesterday. Bench day is tomorrow. And deadlift day is after that. I hate deadlift day, but that's what this is all about.
Speak for yourself on that one.
Introducing a strength sport, a healthy living style to the broader American public, and reward the lifters of today with significant prizes to basically help them. Hey, $10,000. Hey, it's a down payment on a car. It's a couple mortgage payments on a house. it's a diamond ring for the wife, or the husband or whatever. I mean, it's money that we're giving to the lifters as a thank you, as a congratulations for the work that they've put into this. And at that point, I'll just stop because I've been going on for like 15 minutes.
No, honestly, Solana, personally, speaking as someone who's been involved with USAPL Virginia, literally from the beginning of Sabre's reign as the USAPL Virginia chair, I came in just at 2018, seeing this guy, how much he's given back to the sport, how much he's been able to put forward for the lifters and for the community. It's such a massive undertaking, and obviously it hasn't been done without any help. He talks about how we've had the shop gym and the TSD events crew, Jason Albrecht and everyone else involved. This has been a massive, massive undertaking, and being able to do something like this, leaving no stone unturned, it's been a passion project, truly, and I can definitely say absolutely, being involved and seeing kind of what you've been able to do, super thankful and really, really grateful to be involved in a process like this. So, Solana, do you have any questions for Sabre?
What do you think? I don't have a question.
Well, let's just look at it this way. What do I think the future will be? Well, simple. The only meet anywhere that is going to top this meet is next year's Virginia Pro. Because if you think this is over the top, we never accept status quo. I mean, next year, whether we're here or whether we're in a bigger facility, it's only going to get bigger. My personal goals for the Virginia Pro to kick off the Pro Series next year is $50,000 in cash prizes.
Wow.
And that's all coming out of here. And if I could do that, I'll achieve my goal. Whether I get there, I don't know. But next year, the plan is to move to DOTS formula, and we're not splitting up the pros. We're not doing pros on Saturday and Masters Pro on Sunday. We're inviting the top lifters to compete head-to-head, one day, one division, and a lot of prize money. My personal annual goal, and this is just me, I always like passing out more money than the Arnold can pass out, but every little boy has to have his goals. That's it.
I love that. Well,
cool.
Thanks for joining us. Send things back to commercial. Really appreciate everyone. Thank you very much, and we'll see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Series live here in Ashburn, Virginia at the Shop Gym. Today at noon, the first show of the pre-series is going down. Somebody is walking away with $10,000 cash. If you guys are watching live online, thank you for tuning in. We are live on tsgevents.com. Check out TSG Events on YouTube as well for all the behind the scenes and pre-show. Again, 9:30, the pre-show is currently live. 11:30, the main show will start. Tell your friends, tell your family, tsgevents.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. The Pro Series kicking off here at noon today.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the USAPL Pro Series event here at the Shop Gym, Ashburn, Virginia. We're actually joined here by elite lifter Sam Poggioli.
What's going on, y'all?
And Solana Lewis, USAPL Pro.
Hello.
So we were just left by USAPL Virginia Chair Sabre Schnitzer talking to us a little bit about what the USAPL Pro Series event is, how it came about, his expectations moving forward. But we haven't heard yet from someone who's an actual USAPL pro. Fortunately enough, we have one here on our panel. Solana, tell us a little bit about what you expect out of the Pro Series, what you want out of the Pro Series, anything like that.
Yeah, so I've been competing in powerlifting for 7 years, and it's like, it was always just you compete with this goal of getting to nationals. That was the big caboodle, right? So now the fact that there's an actual ladder to climb to become an actual pro and you can have a status, that's a massive deal. Because, for example, to become a pro this year, you got top 5 at nationals, you become a pro, and if you're in this high-level meet, you become a pro. And unless you were first place at nationals, it really didn't mean anything. And now, being a high-level lifter, top 5, that means something. That's something to strive for, that more people have the opportunity to actually reach for instead of just the #1 spot, you know? So that's a massive deal right there, and I'm super excited about it. And personally, too, as a coach, my lifters now have something to strive for besides just trying to get to nationals. It's not just one big meet anymore. There's 5 big meets in the Pro Series. There's multiple ways to become a pro by winning certain meets. So this is just something where now more people can be involved in it. And also, too, I know you coming from a bodybuilding background, so you know that when you get a pro card as a bodybuilder, that is like you won the jackpot. Like, that's like the big thing you're pushing for. And so now we have that in powerlifting. Like, I can now say to someone who doesn't understand powerlifting, I'm a professional powerlifter. Like, everyone knows what professional means, right? You have something to say besides just, yeah, I'm a high-level powerlifter and I do pretty well. You know, so that's really huge.
Strong,
I love
it. But like now you're at a place where, Solana, we were actually talking about this earlier, where this is becoming a chance to become a livelihood. This is a chance to make this a career, something actually viable for someone to earn, to be able to kind of move forward, not just be able to say, like you said, a professional. Like, what do you think about like when you hear something like that, Sam? When someone says that I'm a professional athlete versus just like, yeah, I'm like pretty strong. Like, you know, I do some competitions here and there. Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because you talked about a livelihood and stuff like that. So on the WRPF USPA side, they've always given out money. So guys like basically the only guy who can make a living off powerlifting right now, John Hack, right. He's making close to 6 figures a year on powerlifting. But now we have that on the USA Powerlifting side as well. And you can probably agree with me on this. I told Jason, I told Sabre this. Everyone was kind of waiting for just that first official pro powerlifting meet. That's what we got here right now. And I believe also today there's a WRPF Pro Series first part for the 8-man. It was just going to be a domino effect throughout powerlifting. So everyone was just kind of waiting who's going to have that first pro meet first. And we're very fortunate enough to have it in our hometown, Ashburn, Virginia, hosted by Sabre Schnitzer and TSG Events.
It's super exciting. Where we are now, we're just scratching the surface in terms of what we're going to be able to accomplish here in powerlifting. But now we're at a place where we're just scratching the surface, really. This is able to be something that we can build on, and not just for USAPL, but across powerlifting standards all around. So I think that where we are is really just truly right at the beginning. We're gonna continue to climb the mountain. I know, speaking for myself, seeing all these athletes here, seeing all these names here, all competing against each other, it's going to be a massive, massive event. Solana, let's talk a little bit about, though, the actual meet itself, this actual competition. Some of the athletes that we have here, some of the best in the world. I know I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the battles within the meet itself. So,
Absolutely.
could we talk a little bit about, before we go into just anyone else, let's talk about the ladies real quick. Let's talk about the girls. Let's talk about the battles within the battles. Who do you want to see on top? Who do you actually want to see the two lifters battling against each other?
So when it comes to women today, we have two who I'm really looking at for the battle. Natalie Richards, who's a new and up-and-coming powerlifter who's getting strong so fast, it's scary. It's actually intimidating. And she is going to be going against Samantha Calhoun, who has been a national champion for the past, I believe, 3 years,
Yep.
and gone to Worlds. And there's a possibility she could be dethroned today.
Right.
With how strong Natalie Richards is. And their, good lift points are so close together when it comes to their best numbers. And Samantha Calhoun, again, been competing for years. She's the GOAT. And she tends to, every single meet, chip away, get a little bit higher, a little bit higher. Natalie's really the wild card. We don't know what she's going to really do. She's only done a couple of meets. It's can she come in and put together the meet that she has been doing in training? Can she pull it off? If she can, we're going to see what happens, and that's going to determine who wins on the ladies' side.
I think now it's interesting she said that, actually, and I don't know if any of you guys have actually been following a little bit of Natalie Richards. I did a little bit of my own research following some of her lifts and leading up to this meet. Now, as you said, she's actually one of the lesser experienced athletes, but because of that, we don't have a lot of data. We don't know too many things about her. What we do know is she's about that action. This girl is unbelievably strong, and I don't think it's crazy to say that if she has that perfect meet, that 9 for 9 type of day,
She'll be walking away with some cash.
Yeah, she'll be walking away with some cash. Sam Calhoun better be looking over his shoulder kind of thing. We obviously know someone with a pedigree like a Sam Calhoun, world champion, elite lifter, one of the greats of all time, truly. But now we have someone who's actually coming up, like a young and up-and-coming athlete like Natalie Richards. You don't see too many things like this too often, so I'm actually really excited about that particular battle today. Now, beyond them, obviously we have to mention one of the greatest of all time, Jen Thompson. Jen Thompson is here, and personally speaking, when I saw her walk through, I was like, oh my God, I want her to sign something. I'm just so excited to see someone like that. But let's talk a little bit about Jen Thompson's potential to sneak in potentially into the top 5, top 6 area. What do you guys think about that?
I'll let you take this one away.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, Jen Thompson has she's been winning world championships for years. I think she has 9 or 10 world championships. And she benches over 3 plates. Her best, I believe, is 319 pounds for the bench press. And I'm not sure what second place in, her weight class is for bench press, but it's in the 200s. the 200s, okay? So that's a massive deal. So just the fact that she is here, if she can put together one of her best meets, if she can come in and at least match her best bench press at least, and then she puts together the deadlift she's been doing in training. I've seen her do around 424-ish, and puts together, if she can chip away at her squat a little bit, because that's definitely her lower lift, I can see her taking maybe 5th place, honestly, at this meet. Coming in and scraping in, honestly, because she is one of the best.
Absolutely. Bench goddess for sure.
Yeah, that's the bench goddess, absolutely. So moving on from those, there are a ton of other lifters, obviously, that we know here and some that we don't. But let's talk a little bit about also some of the other athletes in terms of who are we really looking to see crack this top 5? Sam, do you know anyone you're looking to see your top 5?
I mean, the hometown favorite,
hard
Ashton
not to.
Ruska.
Hard
I
not
gotta
to.
go with him, right?
Hard not to.
I think if Ashton kind of maxes his potential for this meet, I think he'll be walking away with his $10,000 cash. We'll just see how it goes. Usually, Ashton, he's a freak of nature. He's an anomaly. No one is going to be Ashton. He does 8 meets a year, basically. About 6 tune-up meets, and then 2 of his big meets. This is going to be one of them. So we don't really ever see Ashton push past maybe RP9 on a platform a whole lot.
Never.
If he maxes out that squat and deadlift, I think he'd be walking away with $10,000 for sure. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I mean, I
wanna hear
100%
yours,
agree
yes.
with you. First of all, let's back it up. He's not kidding. Ashton really does 8 meets a year, but he's not actually trying to compete and just come in to get he's not trying to max out his potential at these meets. He's
It's just a
so
normal
strong.
SBD Saturday.
Yeah.
He's just so strong that he can come in and win.
Yep.
And because there's money in Virginia meets
Yep.
and more money to be thrown around USAPL in general now, he can just win money doing a regular schmegular session, which he would have been doing that in the gym anyways. Right? So it's
Right.
that's absolutely insane.
Yep.
I think even if Ashton doesn't even have his best day, I still think he'll take first place today. I'll be honest, because what he's doing in the gym is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
One of his most recent SBD sessions was 100 pounds above what his best total was in a meet. That is ridiculous. And Ashton's in his mid-20s.
Inhuman.
And that's without
crazy.
the adrenaline and the hype, too. So who
And
knows?
he's a calm
Unbelievable.
lifter.
Very calm.
He's a
Unbelievable.
calm lifter.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys have seen Ashton. You're going to see him today. But, he looks like
A professional bodybuilder.
yeah. That's. I was like, what's the word to describe this? A monster? But
Powerlifters are athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the perfect example of it. Like
Exactly.
Solana said, if you see this guy walking around, and Sam and I actually have the benefit of actually being able to see this guy train on Saturdays.
Yep.
This man actually usually does an actual SBD day, meaning all 3 lifts, almost simulating a meet type environment. But when you see it in person, and you guys are going to see it today on the stream, unbelievable to actually see a guy move as much weight as he does, as lean as he is, but also with as good technique. I feel like not enough people talk about Ashton's actual technique. A lot of guys think that you can just get to this level by just kind of brute strength and powering things up, but it gets to a point where actually at the elite levels you actually see really good technique. People that know the difference between a breath and a brace. People that know how to take the slack out of a deadlift. You'll see some of these people who are absolute technicians, and to me, Ashton Ruska falls directly into that class, in my opinion.
And
Now,
if Ashton ever fails a lift from what we've seen, the only reason is because he wasn't strong enough for that lift. There's never a technical breakdown whatsoever. That's always interesting for me when I see it. When you talk about technique, Ashton's kind of basically at the point where he refined everything as much as he can, but he's brought in his bench grip a significant amount. So his normal bench grip is a closed grip now. I think it's a little interesting because how I'm going to say this. He was at the top of his game at the 105 kg weight class, but he was like, hey, this isn't working for me. I'm going to bring in my bench grip about 6 inches, and it's working for him on singles, so we'll see.
that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Ashton switches between conventional deadlift and sumo.
Yes.
He can literally
Casual.
interchange them
Athlete.
and pull the
Right.
same amount.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yep.
For those who may not be super into the sport of powerlifting yet, they're 2 very different techniques. And let me tell you, my conventional is a good 100-something pounds less than my sumo deadlift.
just like the rest of us.
Literally, because the lift is so different. So that's what makes him a true freak of nature.
Now, tell me again, Sam, can you confirm this for me? Ashton is also a double overhand hook grip.
For sumo, yes. For training, sometimes, and for conventional, he'll switch it up. I know if it's anything above 2 reps,
I was gonna say,
he'll do mixed grip
it's
conventional, but it looks very pretty regardless.
I was going to say, I thought he was a double overhand hook grip guy, which, a man of culture, some might say.
Yes.
But anyways, no, speaking on just that are everyone's number 1 going into this.
Yep.
Ashton Ruska, obviously. I think the first thing we need to talk about is it's truly him versus himself. And then there's a battle for second. What's going to happen, though, in my opinion, is because I like chaos, we're gonna have to see what happens. The battle between 2 to 5, even 6, we've already seen all the preview shows. Everyone's seen Solana's podcast. Everyone was listening to The King of the Lifts. Everyone was listening to Two White Lights podcast. We were all listening to all these preview shows. Everyone has their top 5. I want to hear your guys' top 5. Solana, you can go first.
I can go first. Okay. So my top 5 today, number 1, Ashton Raska. Number 2, I have Bob Matthews. Number 3, I have Brandon Petrie. Number 4, I have Angelo Fortino, who also has a world record deadlift. And number 5, I put Michael C.
I love, and there's somebody missing in your top 5, and I'd like to address it real quick.
Go ahead.
Someone by the name of Austin Perkins.
I know.
Who I had pretty high up on my list. So could you talk to me a little bit about that one?
Okay, so for me, I have to create a scenario in my head, right? 'Cause I can't just be like, oh, this is who's the strongest, because competition is not just about who's the strongest, it's about who can execute. That's what wins, right? You can be super strong in the gym, you come and see me, if the numbers aren't there, it doesn't matter, right? So my top 5 is based off my scenarios, and Austin Perkins, when I have seen him compete equipped, he can come in and do what he can. His last nationals didn't go as well as it could have. I just have him in a lower number, not quite in my top 5, just because there's a possibility that he may not execute. There's a possibility that anyone in my top 5 could not execute, right? So
Absolutely. No, and I think that that's actually a really great point. Sam, what about you?
So obviously we got Ash number 1. Number 2, we were talking about execution on the platform. I think after seeing Angelo's Raw Nationals performance and just what he's been putting together in training, I got him in my number 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Take.
Yeah. And then we got Austin Perkins in number 3, Brandon number 4, and then number 5 is going to be tough.
Say it. Say Natalie.
I want to say Sam Calhoun, Virginia
Right,
native.
okay. Yeah,
I got to come with the
love
hometown.
I love that.
I got to go with hometown favorite.
No, that's hard to not pick against a world champion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we're talking about all these lifters, I'll give my top 5 just really briefly. I have Ashton first. I have Austin second. And I actually have a dark horse that no one, I feel like, is talking about enough, and that's Dan Clements. Dan Clements, based out of the 757 area in Virginia Beach area out in down here in Virginia. Someone that I know personally, unbelievable lifter, unbelievable technician. When you see a guy his size pull 700 pounds, it's going to blow your mind, right? This is a guy who weighs in. He typically competes in the 66-kilo category. The man I saw pull 700 pounds in the warm-up room after hitting his 3rd attempt at another meet previously. So it's in him. He's got it. When we looked at good lift points before this meet, I was looking at it and I was like, wait a minute, why is no one talking enough about Dan? This man could sneak in if he has a perfect day. He's got a phenomenal coach, systematic strength. The guys over there at Game Day Barbell. I think a lot of that, like Solana was saying, it's not truly about who's the strongest on any given day, because if it's the strongest on any given day, we might as well just give the check to Ashton and just let him walk out. I mean, thanks for showing up.
We do that every other meet
right,
anyway.
We do that every other meet, right? Yeah, but the beauty about powerlifting is there's so much more. There's nuance to it. There's a true competition aspect, and that's why you need a good game day coach beyond just a good programming coach, right? So, like, that's why I'm going to say my top 5 is Ashton, Austin, Dan Clements, Brandon Petrie, and then my 5th is Bob Matthews. And the only reason I say Bob in 5 is just because I saw that missed deadlift, those 2 missed deadlifts at Nats. I can understand why sometimes you want to take that risk if you see that it's there. I think that 3rd attempt deadlift was ill-advised. I think he should have just potentially just gone with what was safe and then, you know, kind of let the chips fall where they may. But that does happen, though. Sometimes you have to pull for the win. You have to pull for the placing. Sometimes you got to risk it, right? So, but for now, we will toss things back over to a commercial, and we will be back in just a moment. Hello and welcome to the USAPL 2021 Pro Series event here at the Shop Gym in Ashburn, Virginia. We're actually joined here by Steve DeNovi of PR's Performance and the Two White Lights podcast. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I actually wish I could have been joining you if I wasn't coaching a couple people today and join the commentating team and have some fun here, but I'm glad I'm able to hop on this preview show and chat it up a little bit.
Absolutely. Actually, we just had Sam come off and share us his top 5. We want to hear your top 5.
All right. I will say I may have to make some caveats because I've learned some stuff. We've got everyone kind of talking, and we're hearing a little bit more things. My original top 5, we got Ashton, number 1. I don't think that's probably any surprise to anyone. He's the clear favorite coming in.
Right.
I've got Austin Perkins, number 2, even if Solana's going to disagree with that. I've got Brandon Petrie, 3. I think it's going to be close between him and Bob, and honestly, it's just going to come down to the final poll. I slept on Brandon for the Carolina primetime. I'm not going to make that mistake again, so he proved me wrong, so I'm not going to let him prove me wrong twice.
Right.
And then I've got Daniel Clements, number 4. That's going to be very interesting since he's in Flight A, but I think he's going to put up something crazy that everyone's just going to have to be gunning for once they get to Flight B. And then Bob coming in 5th. The thing I learned, which they're doing right now, they're going to be weighing in pretty soon right now, so everyone's going to know. I was thinking Michael C. was weighing a little bit heavier than he did.
Really?
He'd been talking about going up to 82.5 or 83, and so I figured he was weighing a little bit more, and that might not be the case. He's not necessarily cutting, but after I found out kind of where he's at, and I did the good lift score, that actually bumped him like neck and neck with Perk based off of my prediction.
Way.
So I would not be surprised anymore to see if Michael has a great day, seeing him bump into that top 3 possibly.
So now we're actually at a really interesting juncture with kind of like the good lift scores and everything like that. And I'd like to hear kind of both of your takes on, well, I mean, we've seen some athletes suffer from doing the water cut, suffer from actually trying to engage in that water cut and then try to perform. And in some cases, actually, their good lift score might even suffer because of it. Whereas if, in this case, if they're weighing a little bit heavier, they don't need to worry about the water cut. They slept well, they traveled well, everything was going okay, not a lot of problems with the joints kind of thing. What do you guys think about, like, and especially both of you guys as coaches, what do you think about that kind of format with a good lift score?
I love it. It is interesting to me so far. I'm going to compare this to what we've seen kind of on the untested side of powerlifting, where we've seen meets like this. Everyone tries to cut a ridiculous amount, and we see what ends up happening. From what I've been gathering, it's been the opposite. More people are not cutting weight. They're taking this as an opportunity just to come at their regular weight and have a great meet and see what they do, which I think is just coming back to the fact of being tested and having 2-hour weigh-ins, which I love that fact of just seeing people perform at their best. I prefer that. I don't even like weight cuts in general. I wish everyone should just compete at the weight they're at because I love seeing people actually perform up to their standards. Good lift score. We're obviously going to be switching to dots, which I think is going to be a little bit more fair through all weight classes next year. There's always going to be some issues with that. It's never going to be perfectly fair, but to have a meet like this outside of nationals where we have a smaller pool of lifters and just the best, it's really the only way we're going to be able to have true competition. And we're really going to have competition today. I mean, we've got 14, 15 people who could possibly place top 3, and it's going to be insane. And the only way we can do that is through coefficient score. So I personally love it.
Yeah. What do you think, Solana?
I honestly am on the same page as you. Like, I've been cutting weight for meets for years now, and so I know that can, like, an improper recomp after you weigh in can mess up a day. And so now, like, you don't really have to worry about that unless you choose to worry about that. Like, if you want to cut, you can, but you can just come in at what you weigh. That's a whole factor. It's out the window. You don't have to worry about recomping. You can just come in, warm up, and try to execute the best you can, and that makes the odds a bit higher, I would say, to do what you've been doing in training on the platform. On top of that, I do like having, using, I don't love good lift points specifically, but, using a formula is what's going to be necessary if we take the weight class out of it. So I do like that idea. I also like switching to dots, as you said, a bit more fair. So I like all of this. This is a big plus.
Absolutely. And talking about, like, sometimes in a case where we do have weight classes, let's talk a little bit about the divergence of the 63 class in the female course. Could you talk a little bit about that, Solana?
Yes. So USAPL just recently switched back to older weight classes. So the biggest change is that instead of having a 63 kg weight class for women, there's now a 60 and a 67.5, which in my opinion is a pretty big gap, but okay, right? So the 63 weight class is a very competitive weight class, and now we have to choose. Are we going to go down? Or are we going to go up? right? And so if you go down, how much stronger can you get? Who knows, right? So that's like kind of the chaos. It's like, do I go down and try to maintain my strength? Do I go down and see if I can get any stronger? If you go up, okay, but now you have to factor in you're going up, so now you have to get that much stronger to be more competitive. So for me personally, I've decided to go up. We're going to see what happens, but it is a pretty big difference in a very competitive weight class.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that now that we're at a place where the weight classes are kind of going backwards, back to what they used to be, we're kind of honoring what the true meaning of what the true USAPL was beforehand. So I think this is a really exciting time. Steve, tell us a little bit about your athletes that you have here today. I know you have Lorenzo and Demetria Totten. Can you tell us a little bit about
I've got
them?
Lorenzo and Demetria. Lorenzo actually qualified through the Virginia Pro Qualifier. It's actually interesting with him. He's never done a national meet or an Arnold. So this is literally kind of his first big meet and introduction to this. So it's awesome for him. Talking about weight classes, he's actually going to benefit. He was a very small 93.
Yeah.
So 90 is going to be perfect for him. I think he can definitely be competitive there. So today, he just competed 8 weeks ago. So today, if we can kind of chip everything
Tough to
by
believe,
about
because that man's quads are massive.
Yes,
Yes.
Those are about 50 kilos apiece. So
That's
I don't know.
right, yeah.
The upper body, I don't know how much that weighs. So yeah, we can chip about everything about 2.5 kilos for him today. That'd be awesome. Demetria, she's had some really good training. I just started coaching her about 3 months, and what's really interesting with her, we're going to kind of see what happens with that new 48 class and who stays and who leaves. That very well may be a very competitive class if that top person, Heather Connor's, not sticking around, which I'm not sure if she may be. So Demetria might be kind of giving us a highlight here today of kind of her versus Mallory Brown versus Katarina versus Denise Suarez. A lot of those top lifters are kind of who might kind of emerge if Heather doesn't stick around. So I think Demetria's going to have a really good meet today. And 48 class is great for her, too, because that's her natural body weight. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah, actually, and just briefly, could you tell us a little bit about how you're going to strategize something like this, where it's not really going to come down to like the weight class kind of thing? How are you going to pick attempts for someone who the actual points, they're amorphous, they're moving back and forth? Like, how are you going to game this? So
with both Lorenzo and Demetria, they're probably not looking at kind of like top 5 area in the money.
Right.
So I'm going to more care about them just having the best meet possible. And even within that, Demetria's probably a little bit more in the point series standings. Right. Like, she might be able to kind of wiggle her way into like somewhere in that 3rd to 5th range. Either way, whether it's Demetria, whether I had someone else here going for top 3, I'm typically going to make sure they go 8 for 8.
Right.
That's what I care about. And then come that 3rd deadlift, we're going to do what we need to play games.
Right.
Because if people don't hit 3 squats and 3 benches, you're not playing any games come deadlift time. So you got to play your own game to an extent.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of people who open up a little bit too heavy. You might be looking at some of those subtotals or some of those estimated totals based off of just openers and thinking, oh, this person's way out in the lead, and then you realize that they're only jumping 7.5 kilos and your lifter jumping 12. So you got to be careful not to get too wrapped up in the game too early. You just got to hit lifts, wait till about that 2nd or 3rd deadlift, and then start kind of seeing where you're at and playing that game for placing.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. We're actually going to throw things back to a commercial. Really appreciate you guys joining us, and we will be back soon. Thank you. Hello and welcome everyone back to the 2021 USAPL Pro Series here at the Shop Gym in Ashburn, Virginia. We're actually joined here by the Swole Fester himself. Marcellus, talk to us, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Super stoked to see you here, and I think speaking for Solana and myself, seeing a high-level coach be able to join us and talk to us a little bit about what it's like to have 5 lifters, 5 professional lifters lifting here, competing at the Pro Series event. What's this like, man? Like, talk to us a little bit about the vibe. Talk to us a little bit about, like, the lifters. Like,
dude, it's awesome. It's I mean, first of all, just to be here and have 5 lifters doing it, period, but especially at the level that they're at, is one, super humbling, but it's also like really exciting. Like, as their coach, of course, I'm proud. I'm happy to be here and work. But just as a lifter myself, it's like it's hyped. Like this whole setup, everything is super exciting.
Right, absolutely. And talk to us a little bit about the lifters you have today.
Yeah. So we got Ashton Ruska.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. Michael C., Brandon Petrie, Jamar Royster, and Bob Matthews. And they're literally my 5 strongest male lifters, like, on my roster. So having them all here together is insane. And it's been a really interesting process because obviously they're all technically competing against each other, but they're also like, it's like brothers in arms motivating each other and everything like that as well. This is easily the best prep that all 5 of them have had.
Wow.
Which has
That's
been
amazing.
awesome. Like, they're all healthy. They're all hit like their best numbers in training that they've ever hit. And, the fact that a lot of them don't have to cut this time around is definitely getting things set up nicely, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Solana, I know we were talking about earlier, like, how are you going to game something like this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's the fact that, like, so with each lifter, and this is for any type of meet, I always have, like, a game plan of ranges of where we think they'll be, like, for their second attempts, their thirds, we kind of gauge it. And as far as having them all compete against each other, my mindset pretty much is, like, hey, I'm going to be transparent with each of you, like, based on how your opener moves, here's what I think you should do for the second. Based on how your second moves, here's what I think you should do for the third. And if they want to go outside of that, I will let them make that call, especially on that third pool, because, hey, it's a competition. But I'm going to be completely transparent with all of them. And for me, I mean, being honest, like, since no matter which one of them wins, I kind of win, it's really easy to not be biased. So.
Right. A lot of craftsmanship going on here today, folks. So, like, we're all very excited to see a lot of the big lifters, but, like, let's talk a little bit about, like, some of the lesser known people. I know you mentioned, do you have Bob Matthews a little
Yes.
bit? So Bob, I know he's got a nice profile on Instagram,
Sure.
but, like, talk to us a little bit about how his training's going, because I know we saw things at Raw Nats, like, a while back, and then you missed the third deadlift. Like, I know that was a calculated risk, but could you tell us a little bit about, like, let's see if something like that happens today, how would you maneuver that?
Well, so basically, I think one thing that's important to know with Bob compared to everybody else is he's the one that I've been working with for the least amount of time. Bob and I actually started together about 14 weeks out from Nationals, so a lot of it was getting him used to structure, kind of working on technique, and kind of seeing where his strength is at and how he responds to peaking and tapering and stuff like that. Since then, we always have had a lot more time together, so honestly, I'm not really worried about that as far as, like, the third deadlift. With that one, it was something where we knew him pushing for it would be like, okay, maybe you have it, maybe you don't. But his goal was, hey, I want to, like, finish top 5, top 3. If that's the way I can do it, then I'll go for it. This time around, he's a little bit more calculated because we know exactly kind of like what his goals are as far as just the total he wants to get. And then, his secondary goals in terms of, like, placing and then, like, going head-to-head with Petrie. So it's going to be a lot more calculated this time around in terms of how we approach everything.
I have a question for you. Speaking of Brandon Petrie, as a coach, how much attention do you pay to your client's competition?
So it depends on, like, what type of meet we're going into. Like, if it's kind of like a local level meet, right, and maybe it's an athlete who's maybe not as competitive, or even if they are competitive around, like, that sphere, I tell them to kind of just focus on maximizing their total, because if you maximize your total, that's going to put you in the best placing anyway. With something like this, it's obviously different because it goes beyond just how much they're going to total. It's like, well, what are your points going to be? So this time around, I've had to pay very close attention to kind of what other lifters are doing compared to what I usually would. My mindset is just, hey, you focus on what you need to do, and that'll place where you place you. But with a meet like this, you have to pay attention to what everybody else is doing. Like, like with that, like we're talking about Petrie, Bob, Ashton, Michael, I have to know what's Austin going to put up, what's Daniel Clements going to put up, because, like, they're all right there in terms of, like, the potential points. So definitely have to pay a lot more attention to it this time around than what I might usually.
Okay.
No, that's actually really exciting. And it's funny you mentioned Michael because we spoke earlier, actually, and Solana actually has Michael sneaking into the top 5.
I do.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? Because I know Michael, for a lot of people, has always been an X factor. And personally, for me, I've always seen, like, that man has the potential to be one of the greats, really ever to be 74.
Yeah.
But the thing is, have we seen it yet? It hasn't been actualized just yet.
Yeah.
What do we think we're going to see today out of a Michael C?
If everything goes according to plan, Mike will be in the top 3.
Wow.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
You heard it here first.
Absolutely.
You heard it here first. We're really, really excited to be able to see some of these lifters come on And actually, I'm going to throw things back to a commercial here. And I really appreciate Marcellus for joining us here, the Swole Fesser, craftsmanship, everything. We're really excited to see you and your top 5 lifters. So we will be back here soon and really appreciate it. And we'll be back. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first show here at the Pro Series live in Ashburn, Virginia at the Shop Gym. We are getting started at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. Currently, the pre-show is live on TSG Events YouTube. Again, tell your friends, tell your family, tune into the pre-show, and of course, the lifting at 12, tsgevents.com. Somebody is walking away with $10,000 cash. Again, the Pro Series, USA Powerlifting Virginia, going down in just a few hours.
Hey y'all, welcome back to USAPL Pro Series meet in Ashburn, Virginia. We are joined by National Referee Melissa. And Melissa, how excited are you to be reffing at a meet this high caliber today?
So actually, I'm not a national referee yet. I am sitting for my national referee test today.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Soon to be national referee.
Soon to
So
be national
I'm getting judged.
Yeah.
That is so funny. So as someone who's sitting in, right, to be at this meet, how do you just feel about the environment here so far?
It's very exciting. Like you can like feel the energy going around, and it's cool to see everybody and see how excited they are to get a chance to do this.
So actually, let me ask you this then, Melissa. How did you get involved in the USAPL, and how did you get involved with refereeing? Because I know that like a lot of people have kind of like a circuitous route to actually get here. Speaking as myself also as a referee, I was just kind of inspired by going to the meets, competing, and then feeling like I wanted to give back. So tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Okay. So I started as a lifter, obviously, and one of the things you hopefully notice as soon as you start lifting is all of the people that volunteer all of their time so that you can actually lift. So I wanted to be able to find ways to give back, and spotting and loading is a lot of work. Like it's really hard. So I was looking for a way that I could give back and I could volunteer while also not completely wearing myself out before I lift, because as a super, I always lift last. So reffing was a good way to give back to the sport that was a little bit less physical effort on my part.
Right.
Even though it is a little bit stressful to sit there and try and make sure that you're making the right calls and everybody is getting a fair shot.
And tell me a little bit about, because today is quite the day to take your national ref exam when it becomes the inaugural Pro Series event. When you see some of these high-level athletes out here, you want to do them justice. So, like, what kind of things are you actually trying to focus on? Like let's say on the squat, on the bench, on the deadlift, any of those things that you're particularly looking for? Because these are high-level lifters. They're not going to usually you're not going to see a lot of infractions. You're not going to see a lot of yellows and blues. You might see some depth. You might see some quick anticipation of calls, kind of thing like that. But what do you do to circumvent to make sure that you're getting the call right?
I think the best thing you can do to make sure you get the call right is to not hyper-focus on any individual thing, right? Like you want to make sure you're open to seeing all of the infractions. These are experienced lifters. I do expect it to be extremely clean. I expect that most of the lights that we throw will probably be because somebody pushes their limits and legitimately misses. Maybe some downward motion on the bar as they struggle through locking something out. But I would expect that to be most of what we see today.
Right, absolutely. And especially because this is for money. This is not like one of those regular meets like a state meet or a regional meet where it's like, yeah, you might be able to like get like some extra supplements or something out of this. No, this is actually for money this time around. So you're probably going to see, especially when that third attempt deadlift comes around, we're going to see some people fail. We're going to see some people kind of some downward motion kind of stuff like that. So, but beyond all that, being a part of the Pro Series event, what kind of stuff are you actually just excited just to take in? Like, are there any names, any people that you're really excited to see lift?
I'm excited to see everybody. You know, if you lift long enough, so I've been doing this about 10 years, you really just want to see good lifting, and you want to see people break records and set PRs and do amazing things that maybe you weren't entirely certain people were capable of doing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited to see everybody.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, actually, with that, we'll actually take things back to a commercial. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited. And the work you guys do as referees, I truly feel like is not heralded enough. So we really appreciate you guys doing this kind of work here. The meet doesn't happen without you guys, so thank you so much. And with that, we'll throw it back to a commercial. Really appreciate it. See you guys soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Series here at the Shop Gym in Ashburn, Virginia. We are getting started in just over an hour. If you did not know, you can watch the pre-show live right now, TSG Events. Again, tell your friends, tell your family. The show will be streamed on tsgevents.com. 12 o'clock lifting starts. Somebody is walking away with $10,000. The Pro Series getting started here in just over an hour.
Hello and welcome everyone to the USAPL Pro Series event here at the Shop Gym in Ashburn, Virginia, here along Solana Lewis, USAPL Pro. Wanted to remind everyone this stream currently is free, but you have to move over to tsgevents.com. That's tsgevents.com/powerlifting to be able to access the actual competition. It's pay-per-view. Purchase the stream from there, and we'll be able to kind of keep things moving along here. Just wanted to remind everyone. Moving on from that, let's talk about some more lifters here, Solana. I know you wanted to talk about Chrissy Peraki. Let's hear a little bit about it.
So guys, Christy Peraki, she is a fantastic lifter, and she just came back from a massive knee surgery in January of this year. Rehabbed, went into nationals. Chrissy is also 2019 national champion of the 57 kg weight class, so she's a force to be reckoned with.
Stacked.
And I just got some tea directly from Chrissy.
What?
She got into this meet more recently, right? And after today's meet, in 3 weeks, she has to go in for another knee surgery. So she is someone who just keeps coming back. No matter what life throws at her, she gets back up and she lifts that heavy weight.
And I've seen actually Christy Peraki, not just here and also at nationals, but also we've seen her show out at like the Arnold and things like that. When you see an athlete like her, by the way, absolutely stacked head to toe. I mean, you look at her, she also looks like a professional bodybuilder.
She does.
Unbelievable athlete herself. So, moving on from Chrissy Peraki, let's talk about someone that everyone here is a fanboy of. I know when we saw him walk in, we were actually talking about, like, can we go get something signed real quick? It was Ray Williams himself. Ray Williams, the man, the raw squat over 1,000 pounds, the only man to ever do it, came in here and we saw him signed up. And speaking for myself, I was unbelievably excited to see him on the roster. What do you think?
So first of all, we haven't seen Ray compete since 2019. Okay, so it has been 2 years we've been awaiting this comeback. He was going to show up at nationals this year. Unfortunately, COVID got to him right beforehand, right? So we have been waiting for a couple of years to see this. The first raw drug-tested lifter to squats over 8,000 pounds is absolutely insane. He's the kind of person, like, honestly, I don't even care what he puts in the bar. It's going to be heavy, so we're going to be hyped about it.
It's unbelievable. And when you actually see it in person, I was actually at the 2018 Arnold when it happened. I was there with a couple of buddies, and we saw the 1,000-pound squat right there, first row. Still one of the greatest human achievements I've ever seen, ever, in person, not in person, anything. To see a man do something like that is unbelievable. I think we're all kind of hoping to see something in the 900 range.
Absolutely.
If it goes beyond that, I mean, like, that's just a treat for everybody. So I think we're hoping to see Ray kind of show out with a little bit, maybe if it's all there, a 2,300 plus total isn't out of the realm of possibility for Ray Williams, a legend of the game. So I think we're all really excited to see that big name here.
And Ray Williams is like the face of USAPL powerlifting.
Yes.
Like literally, if you go to certain gyms, you'll see murals of him on the wall because of his accomplishments. It's absolutely insane. So
He was
will
on our
never
poster.
be forgotten. I know.
Yeah, he was on the poster. Yeah.
He has a mural in my gym in New Jersey. It's a full-blown mural.
And the thing is, he's unbelievable. Super nice guy, so really, really excited to see what Ray Williams does here. But let's talk about someone else who's got a big squad as well.
Pancake God or
Pancake God
Jamar
himself.
Royster.
That's right. Jamar Royster. Now, he hit a 716 squat not too long ago. That was actually kind of a grinder, but we've seen him hit 770.
Yep.
And in a format like this where, you know, the actual body weight doesn't entirely matter. I mean, for good lift points, it does for the coefficient score, but it's like, do you think we'll actually see that 770 or something near that?
I think we're going to see close to 800.
Wow.
I really do.
It's a
You
lot
have
of
to
looks.
remember, like, we don't have weight classes at this meet, and I know Jamar did bigger weight cuts. So the fact that that may not be a factor, I don't know if he cut for this meet, but I'm going to guess he did not, right? So if he didn't, I really think we can see 800. Also, did you know at this year's Nationals, he was the first man ever in the 83 kg weight class to squat 750?
I believe it.
Yep.
I believe it because he is unbelievable. When you see a man like this move a squat, it's poetic. It's poetry in motion. So when you see someone like that, 770, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Solana Lewis, 800 pounds, she's saying. This could happen today. All this kind of stuff could only happen with the USAPL Pro Series.
And
Moving
he's
on
one of
from-
Marcellus' lifters too. Like
That's right.
They all of his lifters are just known for having excellent technique on the platform. It's a really big deal. I know we talked about that earlier, but having excellent technique under max load is very hard to do, and that's what makes this meet so elite. You're going to see that all day today.
Right. And you're not going to see a ton of missed lifts on just straight up strength, especially not on second attempts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see guys make calculated risks. Guys and girls make calculated lifts. It's really going to move well. Charles Akpoko. Charles Akpoko, a guy who himself moved on from powerlifting, did a bodybuilding show, won said bodybuilding show, very handily, might I add, comes back here, comes to the pro qualifier, qualifies after his bodybuilding show. Now he's here, and he's competing again as a USAPL pro. What do you think about Charles Akpoko? I feel like people aren't talking enough about it.
So let us not forget that he's an IPF world champion powerlifter. Okay, Charles Akpoko
Casual.
is like casually.
Yeah.
He is insane. And I was looking at his Instagram feed the other day because of the Pro Series. That's what brought him back to powerlifting. Like he wasn't sure if he wanted to do it, but just because of the hype of the Pro Series, now there's something to climb towards. There's money that really helps push motivation. He's now interested in coming back to powerlifting. And what's insane is that at the Pro qualifier, he went in there with a torn quad. Like literally injured, did an insane deadlift. I'm not sure what the number was, but did an insane deadlift that got him into this meet today. So injured, he got here. That's how good of a lifter he is.
Yeah, and talking about some of those big lifts as well, I want to talk about Jake Amendol. Jake Amendol is one of those guys who can come in here, and we just saw him walking around. Also, absolutely massive human being. This is a guy who benches well into the 500. We're talking about potential 600-pound bench press out here, right? Jake Amendol, another one of those guys, really briefly, on top of him also, really want to talk just really quickly about Dan Clements. Dan Clements, again, 700-pound potential deadlift here out of a 66-kilo lifter. Really, really excited to see some of these big lifts out of these guys and girls. So with that, we're going to turn things over. Wanted to remind everyone one last time, make sure to make your way over to tsgevents.com. Click on the powerlifting tab, purchase the stream, because from here we're going to move on over to that stream and continue from there for the competition. With that, my name is Leo Bonnet. This is Solana Lewis, and we're going to take things away back to a break. Really appreciate you guys joining us.
Test
and
1,
we'll
2,
see
3.
you here soon. Thank you.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pro Series starting in just 1 hour. 1 hour until the Pro Series.